Good evening, everyone, and welcome into the program Tigers Tonight. I'm your host, John Maddox. Our friend Bryan Moss is under the weather this evening, um, so he will not be in the house, but I am joined, as always, by the best co-host in all the land, Larry Marley, and in the palatial Marley manner. And by the way, I'm not playing tic-tac-toe behind me. We are still planning out the office, so that's where a shelf may end up going. So,
and they build
Susan,
everything themselves.
Did the whole we did the whole put tape on the wall, see where everything goes this past week. So, So, Larry, what's going on for you, man?
Well, and real briefly, I was out last week, and I did want to talk about that real fast. As many of you know, John and I were supposed to be on a cruise last week, and for two separate reasons, neither of us made it on that cruise. Thoughts and prayers to John's family. He needs them. But for me, I want to talk about me. And just real fast, most of my friends and even acquaintances know that I've been battling depression off and on for the last 28 years. I have had a really, really bad stretch for the last month, 7 weeks. And I was just in no condition to go on a cruise. And so I have been and still am attending outpatient at Parkwood in Olive Branch. And my doctors are working with me. As soon as John knows, we talked this afternoon. I didn't know if I was going to be on here. I'm feeling a lot better, but I'm doing a lot better. And I just wanted to let everybody know that's why I was out. And just to let everybody know that if you are in a dark spot, and I've been there as recently as this morning, don't hesitate to reach out for help. There's nothing to be ashamed of. And if your company holds that against you, then you need a different, don't let them do that. You need help, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. And that's all I wanted to let everybody know. I was in no condition to be on the show last week. And I appreciate John and Bryan picking up the slack. And again, I am feeling a lot better, and my doctors are working with me. So, but do not, and I'm dead serious about this, do not give up hope. If you are in a bad place, reach out for help. Reach out. My Twitter or X or whatever they want to call it handles on there. You can even reach out to me, and I will get you somebody who can help you. But do not hesitate to reach out for help. And if because this is real, and it's no different than you having a heart attack. If you had a heart attack, you'd be in the hospital. Well, when you have a mental problem, you're in the hospital. That's where you belong. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say. And let's talk about Tiger football.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback for a second because I was undiagnosed for 30-ish years of my life. And, now more than ever, there are resources that even don't cost a dime. And, today you don't even have to, and I promise they're not a sponsor, but if you're listening and you would like to sponsor the show, covered by insurance for most people. So there are a lot of resources out there. That's kind of the point here. And, guys, there's a meme that says, when a guy says, I'll figure it out, that usually means he's not in a great spot. Or I'm all right. I'm hanging in. That's another sign. So
John DM'd me this morning or texted me this morning. I was like, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I was not in a good place.
Yeah. And it's just, it's crazy how many people that I know now that are impacted by it. And, Larry's right. You got to get, just like if you have something physically wrong, go get help, go to the doctor. If you have something mentally wrong, go to the doctor. Like there's no, there's no stigma. And same with Larry, I'm here for any, I know better than anyone what it's like to be undiagnosed for 30 plus years. And and Larry will back this up. The wild thing about it is, they always ask, well, what's the trigger for these depressive episodes? Well, you know what? If I knew, we wouldn't be here. Like we wouldn't be in this spot if I knew why this happens. But yeah, I mean, if you're in a dark place, there's the suicide hotline. There's, all kinds of, reach out to friends and family. I have with my therapist, not to get too deep here, but I have someone outside of my house that is my designated person. That if I'm in a really dark place, I have, they're my quote emergency plan
Yep. They're your buddy.
friend. And, we're just, I've said this, I think, since 2021, man. It's been a heavy season. It's just been, what was it? Somebody told me the other day, they're like 2019 seems like 4 lifetimes ago. And
Yep.
it's been heavy. The world is heavy right now. I'm dealing with a lot. Larry's dealing with a lot. We're all dealing with something. And as part of that, before we get into football, just be kind. That's kind of my overwhelming thing, because you never know what somebody is going through. I always think back to the Michael Douglas movie Falling Down, when
Mhm.
he's had it and he has nothing to lose. And you don't know where somebody's mind, and be kind, be good to each other. Like, there's so much heaviness in this world. Just kindness goes a long way. Anyway, on to football. And what was not kind on Saturday was the Memphis offensive performance. But shout out to the defense. Memphis, of course, won the game 21-3. But Memphis really struggled, Larry, on the offensive side of the football. And one of the things that kind of jumped out at me, and we were talking about this before we opened it up here, Memphis kind of had no answers after those first 2 possessions, when South Florida just said, well, you know what, we're going to shell up, and we're
Yep.
going to just play two high safeties, and we're going to make you beat us with crossing routes and make you beat us underneath. And then Mario Anderson, which we'll talk about in a minute, gets thrown out of the game, rightfully so. 2 players on Saturday in 2 different games. Anyway, and I just felt like, and I talked about this on the board, it's really easy to, okay, well, they're playing a little, this man is playing a little bit more off. So what we need to do is we need to have Rock run a little comeback. Those adjustments are easy. Like, that's the easy thing you see in the game. But fog of war, it gets really difficult and challenging when the whole game plan for the other team changes. That's what
Yep.
Navy did to Memphis. They ran nothing. Brian Newberry ran nothing like they had run before. Drew Cronick, they ran nothing like that before. So Memphis had nothing on film, and so they kind of got caught up in that. And then during the game, South Florida, their credit, said, you know what, we can't play Memphis man-to-man. We just can't do it.
Nope.
So we're gonna shell up, and Memphis struggled up front. I think it was Kendra Lewis had 4 holding penalties, just couldn't block the edge. Memphis struggled to run the football. But Larry, I mean, having played, when somebody throws a total monkey wrench in things, it is really difficult to totally switch gears midstream.
The problem, so the answer to the 2 deep cover zone, which is what you said it right, they shelled up. The answer to that is to run the football, because what they were basically doing is they were basically playing dime. Okay, they just dropped 7 guys, and you're not going to throw the ball on us. They realized very quickly that they could not play us man up, as you said. And there were people open all over the field. So they shelled up. The answer to that is to run the football. The problem we had was twofold. First of all, we really struggled up front blocking. We just couldn't they got penetration all over the front of the line. The second problem is, and we're going to talk about Mario Anderson, when your best running back gets himself thrown out of the game, well, and we're already thin at running back, right? I mean, we had a guy that actually took a snap that I didn't remember his name. I think he was originally like 5th on the depth chart, and I'm not playing. I'm dead serious about this. So, I can only say that if you're gonna have a team shell up like that's going to happen again this year. There's going to be teams that are going to shell up because they saw we struggled with that. And we better have an answer for that. And the answer is running the football, screen passes, things like that. That's how you beat a 2 deep cover zone. And now, to our credit, if you look at time of possession, we did get first downs and we did drive the ball, but we were unable to sustain those drives. And, it was just we were texting in the middle of the game, like, we just can't block them up front. Like, they were just kicking our butts. And now, fortunately, they didn't have their starting quarterback. And so we were able to dominate the game. I also think, and John, we talked about this, I think there was, once we realized they were not going to really be able to move the ball on us, I do think there was a lack of any kind of motivation on the Tiger sideline to figure it out, because like they weren't over there going, God, we got to figure out what we're going to do. They figured out that South Florida couldn't score, and they just went, okay, well, we're going to play vanilla, and if we score a lot, we score a lot. If we don't, we don't. I think that was part of it.
I do too. I think they knew the defense was so far ahead. I mean, but you look at the stats, and South Florida gained a lot of yards late, but just couldn't cash in. But 13 penalties for 125 yards between the two teams. Very uncharacteristic of Memphis. Memphis has been, over the last 5 years, I looked today, they've been top 25 in the country and being least penalized. And South Florida was playing, what do you guys used to call that, Larry? Through the whistle?
Yes.
Where, they kind of keep going. And so good time to talk about the Mario Anderson thing. You can't spit on guys.
Nope.
I mean,
that is.
I don't care what was said.
I don't care. You don't do that.
That's the one thing. That's just and Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco talked about this on their show. That's the line. Like, that's, everybody's like, well, what's the line? That's the line. And it doesn't matter what was, because clearly something was said. Something was said clearly.
It does not matter. You do not spit. Nope.
And
you want to punch a guy? Look, I've been there. You want to punch a guy? I wouldn't. I don't think you should do it, but I've certainly been to that point. But you don't spit, and you don't. I mean, there's just lines you don't cross, and that is like a biggie. And
it's incredibly selfish. That's what I take from it. It is such a selfish activity. Yep. To take part in. Bryan points out Memphis offense went 4 of 16 on third down. They're top 25 in the country coming into the game in third down conversions.
A lot of long third downs, though. And I think that was one of, a lot of third and longs, which we're not used to because we're very efficient running the football, short passes. And we just, when they shell up like that, it's really hard to sort of run our standard offense. And again, the answer to that would have been a turnaround, handing the ball off and getting your 7 or 8 yards, but we couldn't do that. So, I mean, anyway,
we say that, and Brandon Thomas, 13 carries, 67 yards.
Mm-hmm. But a lot of it was on that one long run, though. He had 30 something on that.
Right. He had that long of 38. So he was what, 12 carries for 29 yards. So that's a little bit over 2 yards a carry. How poor was this game offensively all the way around? Memphis is 4 of 16. South Florida 1 of 13 on third downs. Memphis 2 of 4 on fourth down. South Florida 2 of 5. Memphis only averaged 4.9 yards a play. The Tigers controlled, to say they controlled time of possession, 41-38 to 18-22. Like, this is Navy type stuff, like Navy and Army type stuff. Just absolutely controlled the line of scrimmage, controlled time of possession, a lot of long drives. You look at you look back at the drives for Memphis, let's see, 9 plays, 3-3, 8 4 threes, and then it got really sloppy late. And, here's the second, here is after the two touchdowns, missed field goal, turnover on downs, punt, turnover on downs, punt, end the game. And South Florida is no better. They start punt, fumble, punt, field goal at the end of the half, downs, interception, punt, fumble, downs. It was just, and I don't, I told everybody I didn't know what to expect from South Florida, right? Like, which USF team was going to come out? Was it going to be the we've got a million things on our mind and don't really want to play, or the let's play for our city? They're just bad. Like I was totally wrong about them on the on the
They-
offensive end. They were without their
right.
quarterback, but they're just bad.
They're
They're just
good
not
up
any
front.
good.
This is what's crazy. So normally when you're good up front, and their offensive line wasn't bad. There were holes, and they did a pretty good job blocking for their quarterback. They're good on both sides of the ball on offense and defense. Their skilled personnel were just, and I'm talking about on the defense too, because when they were trying to play man to man against us, I mean, they were trailing every receiver on the. There was one play, and at ESPN, I watched the ESPN broadcast. They actually said this. There were guys open everywhere. I think he threw it to Lamphere. He had Seth could have thrown it. This was, I think, our last touchdown drive. He had 4 guys he could have thrown to. I was shocked at a team in Florida, and John, you and I have talked about this many times. How a team in Florida does not have good skilled personnel. I mean,
It's remarkable.
How many drops did their wide receivers have?
It just blows my mind. I just, even if you're getting left than most states. But yeah, I was blown away at how bad it was. I never thought, and Paul points out, they had a running back, number 21, who they were really high on, touched the ball one time and then never saw him again. And the other thing that was interesting about South Florida, Memphis obviously went into this with a let's hold the ball for as long as we can and play keep away. South Florida, man, they play so fast. And if you're successful in getting first downs, that's great.
That's great.
But when you have a new quarterback playing against a really solid top 25 defense, you need to slow it down, brother. Like, you need to, just slow the pace down a little bit. Just let the game kind of come to you a little bit. The one thing, there were a lot of things, but the Memphis play calling was a little baffling to me. You talked about it earlier. No screens, no draws, no, I go back to him a lot, but Mike Leach used to say when they used to, well, why don't you run the ball? He's like, well, I do. I just use screen passes and swings to get it out. And basically that's my running game. That's how I run in my version of the air raid is I just get the ball in my playmaker's hands. And he said a running play doesn't have to be you turn around, hand the guy the ball. A running play is when a guy can run with it. Like that's a running play. And he talked about that a lot. And I just expected when they did that, even if you can't run, which Memphis struggled to run the football. Again, if you take, 38 out and then Seth had a 13, you take that away and Memphis averaged less than 2 yards a carry or 2.5 yards a carry. So when you can't run the ball, you got to find other way. Man, Memphis is
the sheer number of athletes that on that team. I mean, like, okay, you find ways to get the ball to Rock. You find ways to get the ball to Blankensee. You find ways to get the ball to Drake. Whether that's a little inside screen, shuttle pass, whatever you. So they were very aggressive up front. And again, I think this is where I say that Memphis didn't even really try. I don't want to say it like that. I think they realized that South Florida was not going to be able to score. We got the 2 quick touchdowns, and they sort of went, okay, well, we'll figure it out if we have to. And they never did. They never had to, right? So I just think there was no urgency on the sideline. But having said that, John, you're exactly right. I think this would have been a great game to work on different things that you may need later in the season. Because you could have tried a halfback pass or something stupid because I don't know. I thought they should have tried some different stuff because they were very aggressive up front. And they were just basically streaming across the line. They were leaving the underneath open, and I think you could have exploited that. And we didn't even try it. It's frustrating.
Yeah, and it was just it was very frustrating to watch because you're right, and your defense is lights out, and you're playing great, and you can't, you can't. Bryan is there's the only person
We
Moss is Clay Helton. But no, I mean, it's a fair point. Screens, tunnel screens. Let your athletic offensive line get out and block. You have two very good blocking tight ends. Tunnel screen, shovel pass. We haven't run a shovel pass all year. Just a regular old damn halfback screen. Just just a screen pass. You don't have. It ain't got to be fancy, baby. It's just got to be effective. Just win. But I think you're probably right. You're onto something there. Memphis knew that even with the defense, they knew that South Florida couldn't score. They just, they were so bad offensively. Archie ends up going just 22 of 41 for 234 yards. He threw a pick, just a 54% completion percentage. Seth threw the ball 40 times. I'm not sure that's a recipe for success for Memphis. Yeah.
That's valid. That's truth.
As much as Ryan Silverfield loves Brandon Thomas, but hey, quick shout out to Brandon Thomas. He has the last couple games really picked up some slack, broken a couple of big runs that have kind of, changed the game. But again, one of the other concerns for me going forward, you had a missed 39-yard field goal. You're struggling again in special teams, and again, while that didn't really impact you today, there's going to be a game this season where you're going to need a 35-yard field goal, and you're not going to have the confidence to trot your field goal kicker out there, and you're going to have to go for it on 4th and 7 from your own 26. I guess that'd be a 43-yard field goal, but my point.
Well, it doesn't matter. Your point is taken that our field goal kicking has been inconsistent, and we really miss our field goal kicker. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name from last year. Somebody on here will, but we do miss that consistency, and I think special teams has not risen up to bite us so far this year. That certainly wasn't why we lost to Navy, in no way, shape, or form. But you're right, John. If I do have, I think our defense is pretty sound. I know the Navy game, that whatever. But I think our defense is pretty sound. I think our offense is pretty good despite what we've shown the last 2 weeks. If I do have a concern, it is on the special team side. And it is, and it's not punt cover, it's strictly field goal kicking. Can we make a pressure kick when we have to? And I don't know the answer to that. Maybe.
Well, but then the answer comes, do you even try it? If it's 4th and 6 from the 19-yard.
Yeah, you tried. You have to. I think you have to. I think at that point you have to.
And it's a 4-point lead. Do you what do you do? And that's the thing that people don't understand about little things like a missed field goal in the first half is it changes how you call the game. Let's say there's a punt return, a big punt return. Well, now I've got to shade guys over here, and let me be clear, both punters played lights out. They had 640 yards combined punting, on Saturday. But
which is why the game sucked. But anyway, moving on.
It's little things. You talk about it all the time, Larry. Attention to detail, little things. And kicking is going to come back and bite you. Now, we're going to get into North Texas here in a minute, but there's going to be a game this season at some point. It may be this week. It may be the next week. It may wait Tulane game. Who knows? But there is going to be a game where you either need a kick right at the end or you need a kick to extend a lead. You're up 6 and there's 2 minutes and 28 seconds left and you need a field goal to kind of put the game out of reach because you're facing 4th and 3. It's odd to me, but hey, it's not, it's not unique to Memphis. I mean, we joke about college kickers all the time. It's wild to me how inconsistent they are. But Memphis, again, they did enough to win. And I tell people this all the time, and I do want to talk about this for a second. At the end of the season, they count the ones on the left, and you just want to have more on the left than you do on the right. Nobody's going to go back and analyze how Memphis won if Memphis is fortunate enough to get in the playoff. And what I've noticed from Tiger fans is they're just going to have to get you for all he is not a 55-28 coach. Like, that's just not.
He can be. Like last year, it was 49-40 versus USF. But in general, I think when Ryan sees that he's got a game, he doesn't. And this scares the hell out of me because all it would have taken is for their quarterback to get hot. And look, bad quarterbacks get hot. It happens. Okay. I've seen bad quarterbacks. Who was the kid from Cincinnati where when their quarterback got hurt, he comes into the game and just goes nuts. And we had to fight like hell to beat Cincinnati. I don't remember his name. Somebody on here probably will. But my point is, like, that happens. And you have to, if you've got a game that you texted, you were right. It should have been 31-0.
Yep.
And then if 31-0 at the half, and you want to then say, okay, we're cool, we're good. But to leave that 14-0 as long as they did was 14-3. Sorry, as long as they did was dangerous, and you get caught that way. And
it was very much like that UTSA game a few years back, where Memphis got up. What was it,
21-0?
And then UTSA just kind of matriculated their way back in that game and ended up winning. But, USF just wasn't good enough to do that.
No, they didn't have the skill set to.
I figured they would compete for a conference title this year. I just thought, they had turned it around, but they, I don't know. It's just, that's a weird situation down there. Well, we're gonna roll right into North Texas, but I do want to mention that the weather on Saturday is, when people talk about football weather, and you morons that talk about 12 degrees and snow and driving wind, that's not football weather. What we're going to have on Saturday is football weather. Low to mid 60s, sunny skies, light breeze. Actually, it'll be clear because it'll be a night game, but it's going to be absolutely perfect weather on Saturday. So, and thanks to Eric over at memphisweather.net for the first forecast tonight. But, Memphis and North Texas set to tee it up on Saturday at 6:30 p.m. I caught a little heat this week because I besmirched the good names of North Dakota State and South Dakota State, because I wondered why they would be on ESPN2 and 2 5-1 teams get bumped to the U. But, I know both those teams are good, but it was still a little surprising. Anyway, I think they have to carry a certain number of FCS games on linear. Anyway, I don't pretend to know. That's Matt Sars. That's his world, not mine. So it'll be at 6:30 on ESPNU. Or is it at 7? I'm
6:30.
6:30 kick.
It's 6:30.
I'm so confused. And then we're at 11 next week against Charlotte, an 11 a.m. kick. Memphis loves those over the years. But so you've got a North Texas team coming in hot. I was looking through stats. They come in 5-1.
But their best win is probably that Wyoming win, and I don't know how good Wyoming is. Tulsa. Now, here's what they are doing. They're beating the hell out of people, right? I mean, they're beating the hell out of them. You can argue they're beating bad teams, which I just did. But, 52-20 over Tulsa, 41-37.
and right.
Right.
At
No,
the end of the day, left
I
and
know.
right.
I'm with you, and I'm just saying, like, I don't know how good North Texas actually is,
I don't think they do either.
and I mean that you get crushed by Texas Tech, but I don't know that Memphis would get crushed. I don't know. Memphis probably wouldn't get. I don't think Texas Tech would hang 66 on Memphis. So I'm going to steal from Bryan. This is going to be an interesting game, and it really, really is going to be interesting because I think you're right, John. I don't think North Texas knows how good they are. I don't know that Memphis is comfortable with their identity yet. Or maybe they are. Maybe they are. I don't know. So this is going to be, to me, this is going to be the most interesting game of the year, not because of any sort of like intrinsic, pleasure of the game, but because I think I'm really going into it not knowing how it's going to go. I pretty much knew how USF was going to go after like two series.
Yeah. So one of the things that I look at coming into a game is explosive plays. This is kind of a dumbed down version of that. There's a whole analytics around explosive play. But you look at this and, they break it down 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. So North Texas has the most plays of 10 or more yards. They have the most plays of 20 or more yards. They have the most plays of 30 or more. They're third in 40 or more, and that's a lot of that's thanks to two running quarterbacks for Army and Navy, top two leading rushers in the country, by the way. They have the second most of 50 yards, second of 60, most 70, most 80, and then there's a bunch of people tied for first with 90-plus yard plays. To me, it doesn't matter who you're playing. When you have that number with you, when you have you are either first, second, or third in every explosive play category, every single one. You lead the conference, or you're and they're up near the top. They're number 8 with 10 or more yards, and I get what you're saying about opponents.
Yeah.
But that's an argument that's been used against Memphis for a very long time, and against Boise State. They don't play.
Agreed.
Well, good. All respect to Josh Pastner. Everybody's got good players. Everybody's good, and guys are making plays. And I just think that this is going to be a very good test for the Memphis defense. You look back to last year, this is a game that North Texas had zero business being in. I think Memphis jumped out to a huge lead and then kind of had to hang on for dear life. And I think they had to score.
No. We had to throw a Hail Mary touchdown pass to win the game. And so, yeah, I mean, I think you're hitting the nail on the head. What concerns me about this game is not talent. I think it's because you're right. Everybody has good play, but they're making plays, and we haven't seen that from the Memphis offense this year. We know they have playmakers, but they're not making them.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like the old saying of we need shooters. No, you need makers. You need guys that can make a basket, not somebody. We got tons of guys that can shoot them. And so, yeah, the Memphis offense has not shown that explosive.
We need guys you can turn around and hand the ball to. No, we need guys that can hit the hole. Like, we need guys that can run.
We got tons of guys we can hand the ball to. We need a guy that can take the ball 6-7 yards downfield consistently. We used to talk about explosive plays on defense. And on defense, we used to say that if you can get a stop of 3 or more yards behind the line of scrimmage, that's an explosive play. And so we would focus on those plays, right? Offense, you need to focus on plays of 20 or more yards. That's how you loosen up a defense. And we don't have, for whatever reason, we haven't taken the top off of a defense this year at all. No defense. Now, I don't know how hard we tried, but we
Well,
haven't.
I will defend that point. I asked Bryan to look up the other day, and I don't know where to find this, but Rock Taylor has to be close to the top of the country of being interfered with to prevent catches downfield. I mean, it just feels like every time it's as I said on Twitter during their on X, whatever the hell it's called now, during the game.
It's Twitter. All right, we're just gonna for this show for the rest
It's
of the
Twitter.
life.
That's right.
Twitter. All right, I don't give a damn what they call it.
Take that, Elon. Anyway, I said this is the football. Well, this is the football version of Hack-a-Shack, because you only have, you're only getting a 15-yard penalty. So if you actually are gaining 40 yards if you interfere with him at the 5. So hats off to doing that. But at some point, Blankham he's gotten loose a couple times. Kobe Drake's not a get loose guy. And you and Bryan and I talked about this in the chat the other day. This offense really misses Sutton Smith because they were building this thing around him. And kind of his understudy was going to be Greg DeRosier, and he's hurt. So now you're down to your power guys in Mario Anderson and Brandon Thomas, although Brandon has shown some speed. You're down to kind of your power guys, and Memphis isn't built for power. They're not like we always joke, right? When they line up in I formation, I'm like, well, this is what football should look like. But that's not who Memphis is. Memphis is not line it up 3 yards in a cloud of dust. That even though we're different now, that's not who Memphis is from an offensive perspective. No. They are still a fast team. They want to get the ball in space to playmakers, and that's just who they are. And they've struggled with that, but again, it goes back, no screens, no draws, nothing to keep the defense. I think they've run one trick play all year, nothing to keep the defense honest. And that's just something you really have to do.
We're going to have to do that this week. We're going to have to be creative offensively.
Yep.
And we're going to have to come out there. If you get up early, you better keep going, because these guys will come back on your ass. And I know our defense is good, but Navy showed that we're not invincible, and we can be. These guys are going to score. They're going to score more than 3 points. And now I don't know that they're going to put up 40 on us, but they might. I mean, they've got the people to do it. It's going to be interesting to see if they can block us up front, because that's going to tell the tale, honestly. And I'm giving a little bit away here, that this game is going to be won on whether their offensive line can block our defensive line. That's going to tell the tale of this game. The other side of the ball, Memphis will score. I don't know how much, but they're going to score. But the game's going to be decided between our defense and their offense.
Here is another. I want to share this because I just kind of came across this, and this is another very.
We're going to start calling you stats if you're not careful.
I know. Well, I've been called worse by better. Just kidding. Anyway, so when you pull up the passing offense in the AAC, you see North Texas and Memphis 1 and 2, right? Well, look at the attempts and look at the completions. Very even. Look at the yardage discrepancy. North Texas has thrown for over 500 more yards. They average 80 more yards a game than Memphis. And that is, from the Memphis perspective, North Texas, I expect them to throw the ball over the yard. But that is a little stunning from the Memphis perspective. Now, keep in mind, defenses have keyed on Memphis, the passing game this year, because we haven't really been able to run the ball effectively. And but man, that stat just jumped off the page when I just saw it, because that tells you, they're averaging two more yards a play. Memphis has only thrown 9 touchdown passes this year.
That's crazy. I would have believed that. But now we've had a whole bunch of short touchdowns. Like we throw the ball all the way down the field, and then but you're right. Like it's been the passing offense hasn't been nearly as explosive as all of us thought it was going to be, for whatever reason. I mean, I do think we've had some trouble up front blocking, but sacks really haven't been that big a deal.
One thing I think that you do have to do with North Texas, and you see that here, you have to do what they call get them off schedule, right? You want them to be 3rd and 12. You don't want them to be 3rd, and they struggle. Anything longer than
4, you're dead. Right, because they're and you don't want them to get in a rhythm. You want to throw them off their rhythm. That's what I was talking about, explosive plays from the defense. We've got to see explosive plays from the defense. 3 or more yards behind the line of scrimmage, get them behind the sticks and make them get out of their, as you put, their rhythm. Because if they get in a rhythm, they're tough. And full disclosure, like I haven't watched them other than I think I watched some of the Wyoming game. There was a game I watched. I don't remember which one. They won it. One of the things that I did see was they have a lot of guys that are that run their routes extremely well. Like precise, I think is the word I would use. They're very precise route runners. And for a quarterback, that's important because he knows where they are.
Yep.
So we need to get there. So from a defensive standpoint, what you want to do with those guys is get in their face, get them off their routes. Don't let them be where they're supposed to be.
Don't let them run free.
And the downside to that is that they get behind you, you're kind of screwed. But that's what you got to do. I mean, you're going to give up something, right? But you cannot let them do those 6-7 yard passes all the way down the field because they'll kill you with that.
Yep. And, this is going to be a good test for the Memphis defense. It's the Navy, which Memphis failed that test miserably, like going back to my college days. But, this is going to be a different test for Memphis. I'm a lot apprehensive about this game because this is the game we're going to see if Navy broke Memphis. Like this is the game where that will show up. This is the week it'll show up because last week it wasn't going to show up because, backup quarterback and all the malarkey South Florida.
And Middle didn't have the talent to do that.
Middle didn't have the talent. So this week will determine because we talked about that. Did Navy break Memphis's spirit in that game? Because they just bodied the Tigers, as the kids say. They just destroyed Memphis in every facet. So this is the game for me that, and Bryan just said it, this is the game.
Yes.
To score.
Right. Well, and this is what, so when you look at the schedule, okay, you looked at it and you go, well, Memphis can outscore those teams. Like we said that at the beginning of the year, if you'll recall. We were like, well, Memphis can outscore North Texas, and they're going to outscore Charlotte, and they'll put up enough points. And now here we are, both 5-1, and we're looking at it going, I don't know that we can outscore him. I don't know, man. I mean, I think our defense, and I'm giving a little bit away here. I think our defense will hold them to below their averages because I think we're good enough to do that. But I am legitimately right now, as I sit here, not sure that our offense can score enough to beat them. And that's a scary place to be this week.
All right, well, let's move into that. So we will be at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. Let's say 6:30. So we'll say 9 p.m. You will look up at the Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium scoreboard, and it will say,
I hope the hell it says 38-28 Memphis. I do think we're going to hold them down. They are going to score. I could be way low on North Texas. They may put 28 up in the first half. I think they really could. I think Memphis is going to hold them well below what they normally do. There's going to be a lot of things. I don't know how well they can block us up front. I just don't think they're going to be able to consistently block us up front. Once you get their quarterback off his rhythm, then their offense is predicated on rhythm, right? And if you can break that rhythm, we just got to do that consistently.
So Bryan has 35-31 Memphis. It's a tradition like no other, even like the Masters. I've got to make Memphis fans mad at some point.
Yeah.
28-24 North Texas. And my logic behind that is I think Navy did do something to the psyche of this team. I think Navy got in their heads a little bit. Now, could Memphis – I think if it's a close game that favors North Texas, if Memphis can channel some energy and get out to a big lead early, and again, to your point, I think, lessons learned last year in the Charlotte and North Texas game, I don't think Memphis takes their foot off the gas because this North Texas offense is even better than last year. But I worry about this type of game because you've got what should be a easy win coming up the next week with Charlotte. You had a tough physical game with South Florida. This game's kind of sandwiched in there. It's a game that, all the fans think, look, this is just like I warned everybody with UTSA a couple years back. Like, this is a game Memphis could lose. And like I said, once a year, I've got to make Memphis fans. Man.
Look, and I'm going to tell you straight up, coming into tonight, so you had actually kind of told us what you were going to do. If you had enough, I probably would have picked North Texas. Because I thought it was very I would have probably gone like 35-31 North Texas. I mean, I think that could actually happen. And, if these two teams played 10 times, John, I don't know that Memphis wins more than 6 or 7 of them. I really don't.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be, it's going to be uncomfortable, whatever happens. This is not going to be a game, unless, again, Memphis comes out with a lot of energy and comes out and just, gets I always say this is a game that if North Texas is going to lose big, they're going to lose when they get off the bus. It's going to be Memphis goes down and scores. North Texas get the ball, fumble, interception, something along those lines. Memphis scores again. North Texas gets it back, goes 3 and out, punch to Memphis. Memphis gets a big punch. It would be that kind of scenario. But look, I'm just worried about this game and probably unnecessarily, but
I don't think so. I think we're both worried about it. We're worried about their explosiveness. We're worried about the fact that our offense hasn't shown any explosive plays. And look, guys, I'm dead serious about this. You could look up it's 21-3 North Texas. That is absolutely possible.
And it's one of those things that you're going to learn a lot about Memphis on Saturday. Of course, the Tigers, if they win, or North Texas, whichever wins, will be bowl eligible. But Memphis has bigger aspirations. And if you lose this game, that's it. You're done. Over. Right. Because you don't have the schedule to make it up. And
and you're still thinking about the conference. I mean, I'm thinking about the conference. People still talk about the playoffs. That's great. I'm thinking about the conference. I want to get to the conference championship. I want to play in the conference championship. That's my goal for this team, is to get to the conference championship and play in it. And right now, it's an uphill battle, right? It's an uphill battle because Navy's going to have to lose 2. Well, somebody's going to have to lose 2 games. Army or Navy's going to have to lose 2 games for that to happen. And it's uphill battle, right? But that's my goal.
Stranger things.
Hey, look, I look at those 2 teams. Now, if you look at who's given Navy the best game, it was Memphis, right? We gave them the best game, but that's not good consolation. It still sucks. But my point is, that's my goal for this team, is to get to the conference championship. And if we do that, obviously I'd love to win it, but that's, to me, because you can't, the playoffs are, you have to win your conference to even think about that, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, our goal right now should be to make the conference championship game. And in order to do that, you got to win this week.
Yeah, and you look at Navy's schedule, they've got Charlotte this week. They were off last week.
That's a
Notre
bye
Dame.
week. Too. I mean, they had 2 bye weeks. Shit.
Yeah, Notre Dame the next week, and then at Rice, out South Florida. They've got what may end up being the game of the year. So they play 3 of their last 4 on the road. You flip over and you look at at Army's schedule, and you're Memphis, and now you're in a position where you're going to have to get help, and the Navy schedule is not conducive to Memphis getting help from them, because I'm not going to say the Notre Dame game doesn't count, but it doesn't in the conference. It does not count. Right. So you look at Army. My computer's going crazy here. They've got East Carolina at it. They've got East Carolina and Air Force at home. They go to North Texas in early November. They've also got Notre Dame. Then they have UTSA at home. So Army has a very favorable schedule to finish this out. And you could really could see a scenario where Army and Navy play in the conference championship game, and then they play the next week again the Army Navy game, which is crazy.
The dumbest crap in the history of the world. I'm not going to go there. Okay, whatever.
No,
whatever.
It can't be a conference game. We're going to disagree on that. I don't think Army Navy can be a league game because it's so isolated and stands on its own. But anyway.
Well, then, all right. Well, it's a moot point because that's where we're at this year.
Yeah. So for the ailing Bryan Moss, this is John, and the best co-host in all the land, Larry Marley. It's John Maddox signing off. We will see everybody next Tuesday evening